Welcome. You are listening to the Zybez20 Combat Beta and Legacy Special. Recently, Jagex has released a beta for the improvement to the combat system and announced the return of a combat mode called Legacy, which will likely have similar mechanics as the pre-UC combat system. In this episode, we discuss both the beta and the Legacy. Enjoy.
Financially, I could see Jagex doing this as like a push to get more players back, like the ones that didn't want to go and start OSRS because they would have to start from level 1. They lost all of those members. I think this is pretty much just their quote unquote ploy to get those players back, to put more money back into the game, which is fine in the long run, but putting it up as, hey, we're going to do legacy combat where it's pretty much momentum minus the random ability spam. I don't know.
I wonder how it's going to be comparable, Legacy to Momentum. Like, if it's going to be equal or what.
Well, to be honest, if they are going to release Legacy, they should remove Momentum, because that wouldn't make sense to have those systems both at the same time.
I didn't think about that yet.
Well, yeah, I could see that, because the only reason Momentum would stay around is if, and I'm not saying this is the only reason it's there, is because people like to use Barrage and Chinchompa still. So if they want to do that, they could just switch to Legacy mode and still Barrage and Chinchompa and get away with it.
I'm not sure, because they will most likely keep the prayers not working 100%, and so I'm not sure if chinning will really come back. But yeah, I'm not. I don't know. Yeah, but the weird thing is they made Momentum for, well, basically the players that didn't want to get into the ability scene, but did want to play the game, and that didn't work. Basically, this sounds pretty much the same, and I'm not sure why this suddenly would work, other than slapping another name tag on it.
Yeah, I made a forum post. It's like, they're trying to redo the Squeal of Fortune, and it's like, well, like, cancer is going to be cancer no matter what you call it. You can call it rainbows and butterflies, it's still going to be cancer, like, at the core. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a kind of, like, a very, very negative thing, but I mean, it's Jagex' specialty, it seems.
Oh, yeah. Rehashing.
But then there's the other issue I have. I'm sorry for interrupting you and, like, killing that conversation, but, like, what's this going to do to old school? Like, they're working on all this stuff for old school, and, like, I just got my first 99 in old school since when it came out in February. Like, the first, 3 weeks of old school, I was hardcore woodcutting on my main account, that's my EOC account. I got, to 94 woodcutting, and then I'd go to a funeral, and I was gone for a week, and I was, front page rank for woodcutting, and I lost all of those ranks, so I just gave up. And, now I went back and finally got some 99 stats. Now it's well, this is kind of,
All right.
Yeah, but the weird thing is, in the ES, or in the Q&A they just released, they did mention something about the players that like old school will keep playing old school. But the thing they're forgetting is that the majority of the players in the survey they made December last year voted for, well, I'm playing old school because of the old combat system. So most likely those players would most likely all move back to the main game, which in itself would be good,
yeah,
because
I don't have to get a bunch of 99s again. I have 72 million strength XP on RS3. I don't want to go do that all over again. I love the skill, but that's a lot of work.
Well, yeah, so I somewhat think that, well, if it would be able to boost up the population again, well, I guess that would be great, but I don't see what's...
That's the one big plus I see out of all this, is hopefully that more people will come back and the game will be more enjoyable, because there's more people to do stuff with, and yeah.
Yeah, but the thing I'm fearing is the polls they are going to bring out. They say that they want to pull the future content they're going to release, especially with Legacy, and yeah, I'm not really sure. I think they should keep focusing for PVM related updates. They should keep focusing on that on the EOC, because that will be the main combat style. the main combat system.
They would do both. It'd be part of the whole keeping everybody happy thing that they're trying to do, because I know they're a year late, but it took them a long time to realize that not many people liked EOC. I gave EOC a shot for a long time, and then I finally just got bored of it and moved back to old school because it's something I knew, and I guess I didn't get bored of it ever. I don't know. They're trying, as always.
Yeah, the thing is, this sounds like basically the same system that is in old school right now, but it feels like it's kind of invading the main game, and that doesn't feel right to me.
Honestly, the only way I can see this working is if they have dedicated servers that are okay, this is just legacy combat and nothing else. Don't have them invade the main servers. Have their own 3 or 4 servers with legacy combat. If it explodes, add more. But keep it segregated to certain servers.
Idea. I would love that.
No, I don't think that will work.
One day I could be bored and then or whatever, doing whatever, and I want to go Dungeoneer back old style when you didn't have abilities and stuff, so I'd go to the Legacy World, and then one day it's I want to go Virago, so let's go back to the other server.
No, I don't think that will work, because that is exactly the segregation that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that's what they're wanting to avoid, but that's...
Yeah, but that would basically just be old school RuneScape all over again.
But segregation's going to happen anyway, because if you have 2 or 3 different combat styles going at once, people are, okay, I want to do it this way. Then someone else going to argue, no, I want to do it this way. How is that going to be addressed?
But that doesn't matter, because they can fit it inside one world. So why couldn't you have 2 players using different combat styles next to each other?
Well, that's what they're doing, though.
I want to know how it's going to be balanced, because as we all know, EOC abilities are so overpowered, and old combat, is basically RNG.
Yeah. They said
you
that...
literally might as well just, if you're going to do something like this, why not just give a huge buff to momentum? It would, and get back the old interfaces, so it would achieve basically the same aims.
That is basically what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
If you're not going to go all the way, just buff momentum, old interfaces, some people will be happy.
They said on the stream, I'll be sure to link it in the podcast link thingy this time. I'm not just going to say that. I'll link it so that way people can watch it, because it's from Jagex. But they said that EOC is still around, and it will always slightly be better. But that slight difference is up to us, they said, but I don't know how that's gonna work. But it's supposed to be better all the time than using Legacy.
Better in their opinion. I think most of the player base would disagree with the evolution of combat updates.
It's
better as in DPS wise. It'd be better to use the things for killing, the abilities, than to use Legacy.
Basically going from the principle, if you pay attention, if you put effort in it, you should get more reward. Basically, if you are actively doing combat and doing the things, you should get more damage, more XP and stuff in return. And it should work like that, across the game, not just combat.
But that's a different debate.
One of the big questions was the prayers. Now, Jad, you're why are they talking about skillers and prayers? Well, skillers, they go out and collect the fish that the people that in EOC, we actually need a lot of food now. We don't just fill up an inventory full of prayer potions and we're good to go. We need that food. And that's the big question is, do they want it 50? Do they want it 100% block? Do they want some other number?
Well, to
personally,
be honest,
or I'll let you go because I talk a lot.
To be honest, basically everywhere except for bosses, you don't really need food. Well, not more than you would need with, before the EOC. You have soul split, and in most cases that keeps you alive. However, at bosses it makes a difference, but the difference with before EOC was that before people used brews and now people use food. And that doesn't really have anything to do with prayers being 100% or not.
And also, we gotta accept the fact that there's also abilities that heal. And if the Saradomin Godsword ability is coming back, that's also going to have a healing factor. How are they going to compensate for that? Because, well, I guess they might put, I'm not sure if they're going to put the special attacks back in for Legacy. I hope they do. We need some sort of buffer for, the healing abilities. because that's going to be a distinct advantage with the healing abilities, like food versus no food.
They've always been the advantage for Slayer. That's why it's I think SGS is the most expensive God Sword right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, they said they were going to bring back special attacks, like they are already in the beta for the EOC improvements. But I don't really I don't really understand why the Legacy would need compensation for the fact that EOC has healing abilities.
Because it's food versus no food. I mean, if you're using Legacy and you don't have something like a Saradomin God Sword or anything that heals, and you're running a side player that does, especially in PvP combat, I'm still not sure how PvP is going to work.
They said that, like, they flat out said in the stream that you would want to use one versus other. Clearly, the EOC would win because there's things like stuns and dots and all that stuff.
And that's going to be a downfall for the update because a lot of people who like the old combat system are PvPers. And they're going to find if there's going to be a disadvantage of EOC, then they're just going to say, okay, this is not worth my time. I'll stay in the 07 servers where everything is the one style. And
okay,
no advantage.
So for that point, they did say in the Q&A that they're looking to for some way to keep those two separate. Basically have designated legacy worlds where it's just in the wilderness that people can only use legacy or only use the EOC combat. Or I think they also mentioned maybe turning the wilderness crater into a legacy only area. But they're looking into those kind of things to fix that, because yeah, that is a problem. But if you look at like two people trading at the same spot, I don't really think that it's a big deal that one has the ability to heal with their abilities and the other doesn't.
Zero, what'd you have to say?
I'm sorry. Of course, they could always do the thing where they have the single toggle, like single way, multi-way wilderness switch, but do it the same thing with like legacy EOC switch. You know.
They said that they didn't want people to switch mid-combat with the systems.
Well, yeah, and the single way ability switch is basically you can't do it in combat, and you have to wait until it takes 10 seconds to switch it. So you could always do something. They could always implement something like that. That way, specifically for wilderness now, not like hey, switch wherever you want because that's kind of weird, but. Like, for PvP situations, like wilderness PvP, you could definitely do something along the lines of, hey, here's an ability toggle that if you have it on, you're using the EOC style, you can only fight people with EOC style combat abilities. And then if it's off, you only can fight people with legacy abilities or legacy style.
I wouldn't be a huge fan of the toggle because that would, like what you have now is that there's basically two wildernesses. There's a multi and a single way, and you can interact between those two unless you have those 10 seconds of no combat. And I think that this would only add two more layers of that. So I think it would be best to keep those just separated into two different worlds, or well, in certain servers, because otherwise you'll be able to basically switch between those to evade PKers.
And I think, in addition to that, it would be better. I mean, what they could do, and it would be a weird thing to do. They could have instancing where you can toggle it before you enter the wilderness, and only people you can see would be people who have that toggle on. But it would just be better just to have them in certain worlds, because you'd have all the players crammed into those worlds, and it would be more active. If you had it spread out into every world, then that would also spread, like, wide how many players are on that.
Yeah, it would create some segregation, but you would need it because you would get people bullying people with abilities versus the legacy.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no people PKing in the EOC, so there is no segregation, to be honest.
There's a very, very, very small PK community. Like, I know on the forums, I think there's one or two clans. Like, I'm not familiar with clan forums, so please don't flame me for this. But there's only one or two clans that, like, have even given EOC a shot. And there's like, I've seen a few live streams of like Regicidal PKing in Edgeville for an hour having fun, and it would just be a bunch of people watching the stream coming out. It wouldn't be actual like PKers out there every single day.
I think Wilderness Guardian still has an EOC branch.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
And Clan Europe has one. And those are the only...
I thought they were like a branch of them, but I don't know clan stuff.
I think... this name slips from me. I don't know.
We also have to consider, too, that alongside these combat updates, in 07, they are also revamping their Wilderness to be more suited for 07. So we're having two different games revamping the Wilderness at the same time. Well, of course, I can't say only the Wilderness because RuneScape 3 is having the entire overhaul, while 07's having the Wilderness. But
07's getting an overhaul, but Wilderness is just on the priority first.
But let's face it, people who are going to PK are going to go on 07. I mean, if both are being overhauled, I think, the 07 community is still pretty strong with the clan world and the PKing world to a point. I was
reading a topic people would talk about, and the big discussion is stats and what everybody else is going to do.
Yeah, I can see pros and cons of both. I mean, pro is that there's a lot more people who have built up stats on the RuneScape 3 servers than 07, and that might make more players come back to, the people who didn't want to level from level 1 into RuneScape 07. They'd be like, okay, cool, I can use my account in RuneScape 3 the way I want to use it with the Legacy Combat, and I don't have to level up in 2007 to be a part of the game. And that might attract some players, and that's what I hope happens.
Yeah, that's what I would be like. I would do both, but I would, like, for PK, and, like, I started PK right before EOC happened, and then EOC happened, and I'm like, well, there goes that. So, like, I would get back into that, the Legacy version of PKing, along with the old school PKing, because I'm getting my stats up just for that now.
And also,
I will mention, I'm going to cut you off here, while we're in a little break, we are going to be talking about the beta, so if you have, like, stuff that coincides with this, because they're supposed to be the special for that, but we can just combine them together, because they're both very, very important, game-changing. Yeah.
Well, this is kind of new, too. This is kind of breaking news with the game. But also, I think the only way this is going to work is if Jagex advertises this. They need to advertise on certain, like, MMO boards. They need to advertise this on gaming sites that RuneScape has a new, brought back the old style of combat on RuneScape 3. I mean, a lot of players that left the game are not going to be paying attention to RuneScape news, because why would they? They left the game.
Yeah.
They need to be reintroduced to this, that, okay, here's a groundbreaking update. You might want to check this out.
That's a good point.
I will mention as an observation, I think it was 2 days ago, they did a Q&A on the beta servers, and there were about 2,000 viewers at its peak, something like 2,200 on the Twitch channel, and then today there was like 4,600 as like a max watching today's thing, so it was pretty big. Like, I don't know how much they advertised. I know, there was a Q&A for old school they had, and they have a new broadcast system that they used, which is pretty neat. Scared the crap out of me. Was not expecting that giant yellow message to pop up.
Word of mouth has always been strong with this game, but a lot of players, the ship has set sail, and I really want to see Jagex reach out to those players. I don't know if they can do it through emails. If they still got the emails on file. It's like, hey, we've got this new update. It might be worth your while to go at least look at it.
Well, but the point is that it will still be different than before the EOC, because the armor tiers will remain in place. The armor stats and the way hit points work will most likely remain basically the same, with the only exception that they might try and see if they can reskill it to facilitate pures. But it will still be a different game, so I'm not sure how effective it really is. Like, if they advertise from, hey, we brought back the old combat system, and people are coming back and they are like, well, but this isn't the same at all. So I'm not kind of iffy on it. I don't know.
Yeah, they would advertise, so they'd probably come back disappointed, but I mean, you have to do something. Like, this is like a ploy for Jagex to get more members and stuff back, and yeah. They need more money.
Which in the long run is good. I mean, it puts more money into the game and stuff. It's just like...
There's always that feeling of too little too late.
Yeah.
Or the right way to do it.
I think a way they could approach this is like what they did with 2007. It's like, hey, if you participate in the beta and you are logged on in the beta for a certain amount of time, we're going to give you a free month of RuneScape 3 membership to go try out when it goes live. I mean, people are going to leave, but, if they get the subscriber base. And also, what RuneScape 7 didn't have is that they had no free-to-play option.
Oh, yeah,
There's going to be a free-to-play model with this. And I know this has been a large talking point to a lot of the PKers and clans. They want to have the free-to-play versions of this. And I hope that's what's going to help us out, too, with the active player base is the free-to-play option for this. Because that's going to just be the biggest wildcard in this.
And before you have to buy the ability to use Legacy through the Solomon store.
They're not that stupid.
Please
Oh my God, I would applaud Jagex. I would just be like, Jagex, you can have all of their money because you're not getting any of mine.
There was a part of the live stream where they were talking about bank spaces, and ModFix was like, yeah, we're going to be releasing more bank space through Solomons, and the entire chat just exploded with what and no and just all this negative stuff like, no, just get rid of Solomons, please. I laughed.
I have no problem with Solomon's cosmetic stuff. I've always had a problem with Wheel of Fortune, and even the revamp looks a bit iffy to me. It looks like, a beast of a different color.
That's what I used it as an example. Yours is less negative than mine.
They're making it integrated, but they haven't addressed any of the problems with the model itself.
Yeah,
and if they have, they've done it very slightly, and it still isn't clicking with me.
Well, to be honest, I think their temporary promotion with that they only gave bonus XP instead of XP lamps was good, but it's too bad that it was just for certain time instead of.
Yeah, I'm a lazy bum. Don't go by my methods. I do not want to train Hunter. I was so scared that was gonna be permanent because I would never be able to max because literally all the lamps I get go on to Hunter because I just don't want to do that skill. And that was really scary.
Nope.
I'm sorry, I just don't like that skill. But back to the beta, because we haven't really talked much about that. I tried it for a little bit. Right now, specials, they're pretty underpowered. They kind of addressed it in the, live stream though, the Q&A.
But I think that the specials what did you compare them with?
What do you mean?
Like, underpowered for what standard?
For the fact that thresholds do a lot more damage and they take a lot less adrenaline and it's weird because they call it specials, but it is a special, but it's not like the special that I would like because it's not the old special where you put on that SGS and you would heal and then you'd put on your whip and you'd start doing the most damage or whatever and then when you need to heal you'd pull out your SGS or when you have special again you'd pull it out. It's different.
But I think that's what they said is the main reason they brought back special attacks is basically to add some diversity within the weapon tiers. There is a huge amount of dragon weapons, but they're all basically the same. So what they're trying to do now with the special attacks is to make them each a little, give them something unique, but it doesn't have to be game changing. And also they don't make, for example, Dragon Claws worth using next to kill the Rapiers like they used to be. Because, the damage...
Yeah, way overpowered. That was way overpowered. I will agree with that.
Well, but they mentioned that, I think they said it in an FAQ, that wasn't supposed to, that wasn't the idea, because it was just to add some diversity to the, to the weapon tiers themselves instead of making them suddenly overpowered again.
I'll be honest, when the special attack stuff came back, I questioned why it was there. I treated it as a cool thing to have, but it's really not very useful anymore. But now that I'm going back to the Legacy Combat for a second, now that the Legacy Combat has been announced, I can see why they brought it back, because if they are actually going to integrate the special attacks into the Legacy Combat, which I think there's a high possibility of them doing, I don't know if it's been confirmed yet or not.
Yeah, they will.
I can't imagine that they wouldn't.
They will, but they said that it won't be like the Dragon Claws from 2010 where you just poop on everything with them.
Yeah. It would make
remember
sense
when
to
it was
have it
4
like
normal hits?
special attacks back then. You know, if it's going to be in Legacy, I mean, of course, like you said, it's not going to be the 2010 Dragon Claws, and I think it's also cool that they had a chance to go back and tweak it. You know, it's not going to make that many players upset. They're just happy to have it back in some capacity, whether it's usable or not.
I can imagine that for Legacy, a lot of things, if you use momentum right now and compare that to the max HP of someone in full armor, that's a big difference compared to like the 990 HP and easy 500s people could hit before the EOC. Like, you would need to the damage is way more gradual right now if you were to just hypothetically use momentum in PvP right now. So I think that their special attacks could be useful to suddenly burst damage. For like, you use a special attack to kind of surprise your opponent. But I'm interested to see how that would work.
Now, if I were Jagex and I was like balancing all this out, I would make the abilities of those special attacks stronger in the Legacy combat to balance out the EOC strength, and I would leave it like where it is now for the EOC because EOC's got better attacks. But if they made it stronger, they would bring it back to, I wouldn't say 2010 levels, but they would make it a little more appealing to those using Legacy combat.
But then, you mean only offering the special attacks for Legacy?
No, I would make it I would make it a little stronger to match the DPS potential of the EOC combat.
Mm-hmm.
You would have your standard, like smash and wait, and you would have the special attack in like one big shiny button, and you'd press the one big shiny button, and it would do the special attack, and it would be a little stronger than it would be on EOC, because EOC, of course, got, other special attacks. That would be a great way of balancing it, while keeping the appeal of special attacks intact.
That would be difficult, though. I think
as with all balancing, it is.
Well, I think that would work if they just only offered those special attacks to the Legacy. Like what they're planning on doing right now is doing special attacks within the EOC as well. But I think that if they were both the same, then that would only enhance the DPS of the EOC thing.
Well, it wouldn't enhance it because nobody's going to be using Dragon Claws if they've got the ability to use a Saradomin Godsword with EOC. Or Chaotix, or, the level 90 stuff.
True.
From what I've seen in the beta so far, with the Chaotic Maul or even just dual rapiers, chaining basics is more DPS than a special attack from a dragon weapon.
Mm-hmm. Like, it costs so much adrenaline.
It's important to remember that Jagex is still holding on to their position that the tiers need to really matter more than anything, and specialization should be within each tier.
Well, but that's good in my opinion. Like, you don't want to have a random dragon weapon being better than way higher leveled other weapons.
Yeah, you don't want a level 60 weapon to be better than a level 80 weapon, like at any point in time, I would think.
However,
I personally like maybe a level 70 slash weapon against something weak to slash and strong to crush, being a little bit more powerful than a Maul. But Jagex seems to be very adamant on especially on each tier being markedly stronger than the other. And I suppose it's a subjective decision of which you prefer.
Well, like what you mentioned, using the correct style, it does give an invisible accuracy bonus, I think. Like a level 80, 75 slash weapon will have the same accuracy as a Maul, for example, if it's weak to slash instead of crush.
So is it 5 levels, or is it just as that a guess?
I think it's 5 levels, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Depending on other accuracy bonuses, it might swing from being equivalent to like half a tier or a little more, a little less, but I think it rounds out to about half a tier.
Another thing they could do to these dragon weapons to make them more relevant is doing what they did with the dragon claws with the dungeoneering. They can make a stronger variant of these dragon weapons, keep the special attack, but have the attack strengthened with the weapon damage. They could do that with the daggers, the long swords. Find some way of upgrading it. It doesn't have to be dungeoneering. It could be other, like,
they could do that
skills.
with the inventor skill.
Yeah, even smithing. Smithing needs a good update. If you have, like, 90 smithing, you could, find this rare ore that only spawns in the wilderness, and if you get a certain amount of these ores, you could modify the weapon into a much stronger dragon dagger. It would do, excuse me, it would do more damage, and you would still have that, that skill level to actually use it instead of just buying it as a vendor for completing an easy quest.
I'm fairly sure that is what Inventor will be about.
I hope so. Because that would work very well.
Okay, so I looked it up on Ars Wiki, and basically there's an accuracy multiplier that's applied depending on which style you use. If you use the correct weakness, you get a 0.75 multiplier, and if you use the correct style, like crushed/stab, you get a 0.9 modifier. So it's a bit better, but I'm not sure what that does in terms of tiers. It's kind of iffy because Jagex doesn't really want to disclose all this information on how they calculate the damage and accuracy. So
I just have to point out, I'm disappointed in Jagex for not wanting to release formulas and kind of making players play a guessing game.
Combat style formula, and I believe they put the formula in actually a wallpaper.
Yes. The dwarven wallpaper.
That was an interesting way of introducing the formula, but it was a mystery for a long time.
Yes, I'm going to see if we can find that.
A big thing was that the beta is also open to free to play now, which is different compared. I think Evolution of Combat was open to members only.
I don't remember.
It should be open to everybody because they need to stress test that. They need to get as much bugs, as much discrepancies sorted out before they release it, because the last thing we need is another buggy update.
Yeah, I will say, I give Jagex a hard time for the whole, a little too late, but, that's an important thing they actually, doing this time around, is they're, because I think when you watch that 30 minutes of their Q&A of it, they show you, or they tell you about, the mistake they made and they actually realized it, which is pretty good, because this is their second beta ever? Recently, anyways.
Skate 3 had a beta, Evolution of Combat had a beta, there's a beta of HTML5.
So this is the fourth.
Alright, well, game-changing betas that I don't know, yeah, whatever.
Oh, by the way, next, one topic. Reverting back to 138 combat. It has been suggested by lots of players. What do you think about that?
It would make it, I'm gonna cut you off here. It would make it a lot better for purists, it'd be possible for them to be around, but I'll let David go now.
I think it depends on how deeply the legacy combat changes armor ratings and accuracy and such, because right now, EOC combat level I'd argue it's a pretty accurate estimation of how effective you are with your top trained style, whereas in legacy combat, depending on how far they go back, different stats might matter more in a way more similar to the old combat levels, so you might be able to get more information out of the old combat level formula or something more like it.
Well, to be honest, I think neither of them are perfect, but the 200 is, I'm just going to call it 200 and 138, but the 200 is a more realistic approach, because the old 138 combat formula is so biased to melee that you can basically have way inferior stats in basically all melee stats. Or basically, I think you can have 75 mage range attack and strength, and be the same combat as someone with 99 magic, and that just doesn't make any sense, because a level 99 mage is way stronger than someone with flat 75 stats, and I think that is what the 200 formula. Well, I think it's better in that case, but then again, it doesn't factor in skills like HP and prayer and I think those really do matter. So maybe they could come up with some sort of intermediate, some middle way.
I think we can answer that question with another question. Do we want pures to come back into RuneScape 3? I think the whole point of the 200 combat level was to eliminate the need for pures. That's that deviance between the combat level.
When they did that, they killed a huge part of their player base.
I don't think that the combat level really is what did that. I think that's rather the fact that armor is so important.
They mentioned on the live stream that they were going to look into changing that. That's I'll say this now is all this stuff, you guys need to go and give your feedback, post on the forums, let them know what you want, so that way they can get the best system overall in the end, to changing how HP boosts with armor and your level.
Yeah, well, but I think that it doesn't really matter how it is calculated, because, at least for pures, because pures are mostly fighting pures. If you look at most PK videos, they're fighting each other. And yeah, I'm kind of iffy on it.
I'm gonna say this now. Pure or PK videos are kind of biased. They only show you the fights that they win. Very rarely do they show you deaths. So I'm not gonna just don't base all your stuff on that. I don't know, when I watch live streams, I watch one defense pures take on 45 defense pures. I watch people that are 70 defense take on people that have 45 defense, and I don't know.
But the role in defense in this whole picture doesn't really matter. I'm not arguing about defense. I'm arguing about the relation between ranged mage and melee, because the fact that melee has 2 stats, and in the old formula, those stats weighed way higher than mage and range. And that's the thing I have an issue with, because that's what's making the combat calculation fairly biased towards melee. Well, the other skills really do matter, and I think that they should be able to address that without completely breaking pures because of their defense level.
I could suggest a fix, but it wouldn't fix the problem, and it'd be hated probably, so I'll pass on suggesting it. But I find it funny.
Well, the problem with, the old style, and back when there's 136 combat, is that magic, unless you're using Ancients magic, really wasn't appealing to use in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
Because, melee was king.
Either you'd use the god spells, which cost a lot of money, or you'd use the ancient spells, which cost even more money.
Or vengeance.
Yeah, or you'd use vengeance, which, it's that's pretty bad that you'd be on one spell, or on a spell book for just one spell, pretty much.
Mm. But to be honest, the way combat is calculated is basically you either have melee, which is just the attack stat plus the strength stat, or you have range or mage, which is multiplied by 1.5. If they would just change that to multiplied by 2, then basically that's the whole thing dealt with. You can be 99 mage and max out at 138, and basically that's balanced. That's all there is to it.
I think it's going to be a long road to getting this game balanced to a way that make almost everybody happy. You're not going to make everybody happy. That's just a given fact in anything you try. But I think what they're doing now is pretty fair for just about everybody. I think the only people who really do get left at is the pures. And if they want to play pures, they have 07 for that. Because it still works in 07.
Yeah.
I agree. But one more bit about pures and combat levels. I think the big disappointment a lot of pures had with RS3 EOC is not so much that the combat levels were changed, but that defense mattered more, and that's kind of why the combat level had to change, because defense is such a vital. I just like how when defense is now a more important stat to have in combat, it now makes up more of the combat level. That's something I think Jagex did right.
Yeah, I don't know, when you think of it as that way, it's you could say a one defense pure and you'd be 100 and some combat, almost, 100 even, or close to it. I can't remember the exact formula off the top of my head. But Jed, you were saying that if you make them 138s, well, what happens when you take a one defense pure and you face them against somebody that has defense and their levels are the same. Like, that's completely unfair.
Is it?
Yeah, because that defense actually matters now.
But in what way does defense really matter that much? Like you mean the health boost or the actual
health and the armor?
Well, like as for the health, they're looking to rebalance that, and yeah, the armor is compensated by the fact that they have the pure has higher hits, and also
well, you were saying that they would be the same as the person with higher defense.
What?
Like you said. Like, from my understanding is, you said the 138, that pures would be 138.
No.
That'd be like...
No. I didn't say that. What I meant was, like, the 138 formula, but make it so that if you're 99 mage, and don't have 99 melee stats, that you can also be 138. Because that's what is basically wrong with the 138 formula, is that it highly favors the melee.
Yeah, it's melee based because there's 3 melee. Like, that was like my whole fixed thing, is you just combined attack and strength into one.
Yeah,
so
but
that would cause a crap storm, but
no, I don't get why that would.
Because people spent so much time, like, the people that have 200 mil on the, like, the skills.
Oh, yeah, but I don't think that would matter. Like, combining the two actual stats, I don't think that's necessary. If you just, within the calculation of the combat level, if you just multiply the attacks over the mage or range stats by 2, you're basically done.
I think we're just overcomplicating a problem that really doesn't need to be solved. Since Pures have a place in 07, Jagex have been specifically designing this stuff not to include Pures. I think including Pures now would just be like a defeat of what they're trying to accomplish.
That's the thing, is they want them to come back.
They did mention that they wanted to accommodate to Pures again.
Yeah, they want to accommodate all account builds. Yeah, this is going to be a huge mess.
I don't really think it would be directly a mess.
We will always have min-max accounts trying to optimize by not training stats that aren't as useful, but they won't always be pures as we know them, low defense and maybe prayer and such.
Well, yeah, but, like, get people to be inventive. Why not? But,
oh, definitely. Try to make it as difficult try to make everything equally effective.
Yeah, but basically what they would do with a 138 combat calculation is they make defense have a smaller impact on the combat level, and that way they should be able to make Pures viable again, because they make up for the higher defense of their opponent by higher attack stats, so that should balance each other out.
We'll have to see what they
combat difference, level difference, because from when you describe that to me, I'm kind of like stuck on that. Is that you make it sound like the 138s are going to be the same as the Pures?
I don't. Well, explain to me how I make that sound.
Because you say 138, I think that's what's doing it for me. Like, you call them 138s, and then you compare that 0 defense to that 99 defense. Like, it does actually matter a little bit. Even if they do the balance with the HP to armor stuff, like, it's gonna be... Like, my thing is, you could do it like... I don't remember when they implemented this update, but they made all armors have life point boost, like, they were all, like, next sets pre-EOC.
Mm-hmm.
Like, each stage had a different boost, like, you could re-implement that system somehow.
Well, I'm pretty sure they only added the health boost to all armors during the EOC.
Yeah, they did.
Alright, yeah. I thought it was talked about before then, but that could have been just like one of those ninja things, like, oh yeah, we're going to do EOC with that. Yeah, next year was the only theft that had HP boost.
Yeah.
I would love to see somebody make a successful summoning Pure.
There's been summoning tanks.
It's been done pre-EOC.
Yeah, they call them summoning tanks. They would have, like, 70 defense and barrows here. They have a bone dagger, and they would have their titans that are kicking some butt. They were actually pretty sweet to watch them, like, gang up on some of, like, the mid-level range peers that have, like, 60 range, and just watch them go at it. They were actually quite successful.
DFS and Steel Titan.
Yep.
Poor level 30 range peers.
Well, something's also getting a rework, so eventually. We don't know when that's coming out. It's been delayed for ages.
Soon, TM.
Yeah, soon. Like Elven City.
Actually, on that topic, I did see something in the forums about maybe including a secondary stat for range and mage, where it's like dexterity for range and what's usually the other stat paired up with magic? Intelligence?
Yeah, I think intelligence.
I think.
Yeah.
Where they would include those two as like, so basically you'd have your attack and strength, and then you'd have your dexterity with range, which dexterity would be how accurate or how powerful your hits are, and then intelligence would be the same thing for magic.
But that would also increase the min-maxing because people are just going to stick out the best items.
Question, was this a suggestion or a rumored update?
A suggestion, I think.
Suggestion. But I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, that would be a solid one.
I'm not sure if it would be needed. Like, I think it's only complicating things even worse.
Yeah, the last thing this game needs is to make it more complicated.
Like, rather combine attack and strength than make more skills that are basically just redundant.
Or combining attack and strength. I mean,
yeah, that's what he
said. That's what I just said.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm agreeing. Like, if you just did that and then changed it to like melee instead of like, and then you'd be all set.
Mm-hmm.
The issue I have though is like defense is mostly trained on. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like defense is mostly trained on melee, and like you could argue that it should be involved, but then it shouldn't because that's what we're trying to fix right now.
Hey, leave defense out of this.
I think that defense is completely neutral right now.
Yeah, I think
it's going to take a lot of work.
If they haven't already moved like magic defense and range defense based off of the range and magic and range stats, if they should probably do that and just make defense the all round.
I think it is. But for magic, your magic defense is based on both your magic level and magic defense, which is kind of complicated, but...
Yeah, I'm saying, like, take magic out of that equation and just make it off of defense or something to that effect. I don't know. We
should definitely be moving away from making a numbers game, though, because the old style of RuneScape combat really wasn't about the, it was more about the random number generator than about, like, numbers. I mean, people would have certain stats, they have certain builds, and then it would all come down to, like, who would, like, get the better hits.
Yeah, who's
I think that's what people want in the game right now. People don't want the World of Warcraft's clone, as they call it. People don't want the intelligence, people don't want the wisdom stats, because that's just going to make the game more complicated and a lot more confusing to start up. RuneScape's always been a simple game.
Like, personally, I can understand that. I don't know, like, maybe it's just... I don't know. It'd be something to think about and discuss, and it would have its ups and have its downs. That's what I guess I'm trying to say.
But we want this update to be all ups because we want the player base to come back.
That would be the issue, is how would they give you those skills? Like, I'm 99 magic, would I have to go through and train intelligence, or would I automatically get the intelligence level because I'm already 99?
Then that would be redundant, You just have more numbers that mean nothing, because if you're scanning along with weapons, then...
Well, it'd be for I have them now, but like I guess for future stuff, that it would bring possibilities.
The reason why games like World of Warcraft and other MMOs have those stats is because they have different classes. They have healers, they have like buffers, they have magic dealers, they have like range support. They have all these different classes. RuneScape only has 3 classes: range, they have magic, and they have melee. I mean, you could make the argument for Lunar with support.
You could argue for a tank class as well.
Yeah, you could argue against tank, DPS, and then healer and support.
Yeah,
stuff.
but RuneScape doesn't have that, and that's what makes it simple and easy to play.
It has it.
I mean,
it's a simple.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah, I was going to say
treats it like that.
I was going to say technically all 3 classes have all 3 subclasses. I mean, you can actually support on melee, on range, and on mage. You can actually tank with all 3, and you can definitely DPS with all 3 because the main game is about DPS.
That's the only thing that matters.
The deeps.
But Yeah, I know for a fact that Zero is craving for a true support class.
They just for Zero. I'm pretty sure you watched that thing, but they talked about that shield work. It's on the forums now. Mod Hunter is taking suggestions on what to do with it.
I've already looked all over that. I kind of like what they're doing already, but not to delve too far into that. But yeah, there's also a really nice suggestion about a Lunar Magic remake.
Yeah,
an hour. You have a lot to edit.
I don't think that tank, like using shields, is basically tank, and I don't think that they should combine support and tank. Basically, have someone else more on the back lines healing everybody. Although that's maybe too meta for the kind of PVM that's offered right now, because it's not really needed. But if they were to release like epic bosses, maybe that would be needed and would be awesome to see.
The funny thing is, and let me see if I can find it. I'll let you guys go ahead and I'm going to try and find something real quick.
But if we're going to be like expanding the game that much, we're going to need like skill trees, because really the only like technically not really skill trees we have are the different magic spell books, and that would make the game more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah, I guess like the different things would be like, we'll take it like the dragon option. You have a bajillion different dragon weapons. That could be like for melee, and then a range or mage. You have the different spell books. And then mage or range. I can't talk. You just have the different bolts and crossbows or something. I don't know. And then the different types of stuff.
Yeah.
The arrows and crossbows. I mean,
item sets could potentially work. It would give like more use to some of the underused weapons. And if they were to go that route, that would probably be my suggestion to them. What they could do about it.
Yeah, but as you're saying, like, I don't think you want them to go that route. I would like simplicity before they get over complex.
Yeah, because they tried over complex with VOC and look what happened. That's why we're in this mess. That's why we're talking about this right now.
Zero, did you find your thing?
Well, it's about this. It's if you look at the polls in game right now, there's 3 new polls of obviously the Legacy Combat being one of them. The Ruby poll this week, I guess, is for new Ultimate Combat abilities, which are coming out, I guess, at some point in April or May. Basically, if you look in game, the poll right now, there's 6 different types of abilities that they're proposing. Damage dealing, health sacrifice, group abilities, health regeneration, and other. Obviously I voted for the group abilities one because like Jad said before, I'm big into having a support class, and adding support abilities would be way up my alley. Unfortunately,
damage is winning by a landslide.
Yeah, damage is winning by a landslide, but I'm going to read the effect that they have on the forms here. An ultimate for each combat style that has a mild temporary negative effect for increased damage. I believe we already have these abilities. It's called Berserk, Sunshine, Metamorphosis, and Death Swiftness. Like, we don't need another one of those. It's not necessary, because even if they did include those, they're probably going to have them on their shared cooldown, and that's going to make it worthless. Like, Health Sacrifice is 2 defensive abilities not specific to any style, which sacrifice health for positive effects, which includes like damage increase, damage over time, immunities, etc. You already have that. It's called Darok's side effect. Like,
well, it sounds decent, except for the damage increase, because it sounds like, well, defense should be tank orientated, and damage increase is not something a tank does.
Yeah.
But the other things, like maybe they could give sacrifice X amount of HP and gain a 50% damage reduction, or cooldown reduction, something like that.
Yeah.
That would be okay.
But I mean, when we get to the group abilities, though, like 3 abilities that can apply positive effects to groups of allied players. Like, come on, you're gonna take.
Who would not want that?
Like, honestly, who wouldn't want that?
It's something we don't really have yet. Like, what, group vengeance, really? That's about all I can think of.
Yeah,
heal group.
Who uses that?
Group vengeance,
honestly,
memories.
Yeah, like, seriously. Like, come on, give us something like, here's a group damage buff for X amount of, like, 20-second damage buff. Here's a group heal that doesn't require you to blow, like, all of your HP. Here's a group cooldown reduction that, you sacrifice, like, it counts as an ultimate and gives everybody, like, a 30 second cooldown reduction buff where like all their cooldowns are reduced by like 5 seconds, like their thresholds and ultimates or something like that, or like they could do so much with that, but everybody's like, nope, I need more damage because we don't have enough damage abilities as it is.
Then they have to put a version of World of Warcraft Bloodlust that gives you like a temporary attack bonus, and you're only supposed to like pull that effect at a certain part of the boss to give you like that last push you need before everybody starts dying. If they implemented something like that, I'm sure a lot of players would use it. But then again, that's going to make it more like WoW, and that's people's legitimate complaint about it.
I doubt people would see the similarities. I actually made a suggestion a while ago on RSC, also containing a couple of abilities, and those were rather about other sorts of buffs for X amount of seconds, like increasing defense for a while, increasing regular attack speed, and stuff like that. Maybe that's something say a support tank could cast in like an area of effect, something like an avatar does.
Just want to make one small point. I'm not so sure about the attack speed thing because of the tick system. It just makes low cooldown per attack weapons obscene because they have to be buffed by like 1/3 or to double at least.
For that, I would say make auto attacks just do more damage. I think there's a different way that they could do it, and it would actually work better. That's pretty much what you're doing. It's like you could hit faster. So I mean, if you just like calculate the speed to power boost or ratio and make them equal.
Well, to be honest, it would allow for some interesting mechanics because right now the auto attack cooldown basically prevents you from using auto attacks in between abilities. Like it's better to just chain abilities than to wait for an auto attack before using an ability. But the time it waits between using an ability and then doing an auto attack is based on the attack speed. So if you have a higher attack speed, you might be able to pull off auto attacks in between abilities, which would be interesting to see what that would do.
Okay, so that is a wrap. Thank you all for listening, and be sure to check on upcoming episodes in the Zybez20 forums. If you want us to discuss a certain topic, feel free to suggest so in the Suggest Topic thread on the Zybez20 forums as well. And for the rest, feel free to hang out in the ZybezNet clan, the ZChat FC, the Zybez Ventrilo, and the channel Zybez on Swift IRC. Thank you all for listening, and have a nice day.